ways, yes.
Definitely. Definitely. Very cool.
It's just so funny to watch these people who I last saw 30 years ago. They were high school kids, and now and it's been nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And now they're like adults with gray hair, and they all look so old. And it's like, what happened?
Where did you go? Nah, fast. You made it! And you're only slightly so. Wow. Good yanta. Oh, Rita, good yanta. You're dry. How are you dry? I'm special.
She runs between the drops.
You didn't get soap.
No, because somebody came over with
Oh.
How very nice.
Ellen didn't.
That lovely?
Ellen should have gotten that treatment as well.
Right.
Could have taken up with the management.
I saw my rain jacket, I guess.
Oh. And I brought mine too. Actually, it wasn't raining when I walked in. It stopped for a minute.
Hello, hello, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm alive.
Thank God.
That's all you did.
Well, it was touch and go for a while, but I did it, so I'm alive. I'm here. Well, thanks.
It's true.
Where's your Kate? You walking good?
Yeah, no, I never went to Kane.
Well, you had a walker.
Yes. I went to Walker.
That's wonderful.
That's rare.
That's really rare. That's
I'm
wonderful.
going to attribute the therapist to that.
And a good one. It makes
Check,
all the
check.
difference in the world.
Civil.
The therapy with the.
I'm still with therapy too.
today?
Hopefully.
But it's a good thing.
And it was like shouting at me in all capital letters, dead battery. Like that's what it said, dead battery. Oh my God. And Belinda had even just checked it. And so it just, I don't know, they were bad ones.
Let's see. Yeah, totally.
Good.
They don't have a setting for weak battery.
Right, there was no
Okay, it just went from on to
from
dead.
vibrant to live. So in the middle of, you know, we make it a big point.
Of course.
Chicken.
Now I can sit here. Yesterday I sat over there. The air conditioner
Froze your butt off.
I thought I was going to come down here.
I was in the front row, and yesterday I said, I'm never wearing a dress to the synagogue again. My legs were so cold. I kept wrapping my wrap around it, and then stand up, and it was well done.
Was it cold here?
It was freezing. Freezing.
Rabbi? And you, Lex?
It's the gal.
I saw him in the hallway.
Let's.
Just
Just gonna leave her arm here so I can sleep the whole time.
I understand you're the caller today.
Am I? No, Belinda.
No, she says she's chanting.
Oh, because she's chanting, so I did. That's right.
But he's gonna, it's not done yet, but are these big enough for you?
Debbie. Yeah.
Okay, I can't believe we don't have Rick Warren's name.
Yeah, but otherwise. We're blowing. Oh, from there.
It's ended some, what do you want it to be?
It's fine. I'll translate. This is shit.
Shimon, Ben Nathan, and David David Ben Harav Michael.
Okay, and I'll add her up.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, not bad. Hello.
Don't even think about it.
Short, very short. No, just,
I don't know whether we're going to.
no, Marcy, let me tell you. Short announcements, I'll be happy to do very short. Just whatever.
You've been very short of time.
Well, this guy's giving me a hard time. And the only thing he was happy about is I thanked him. Publicly thanked him.
But I would have appreciated if it was in capital.
Okay, so
Don't worry, we won't be playing any jobs.
what else does she wants to do in art?
I have to finally, I have one part of vacation.
Nicole here yesterday.
Yes, yes, you did.
I like saw her and I didn't get to say hello. I tried to like kind of like smile at her.
Oh,
from
thank you.
afar.
Thank you. There she was.
And then I think she friended me on Facebook last night, but I didn't get to.
Oh, really? Oh, good, good, good. Oh, that's good.
Oh, just so you, this has nothing to do with something right now, but we're gonna have to deal with it. The stream is cut out each day, and luckily Seth has been watching it, so he's able to like reset it and restart it.
Okay.
But each time you go from like 50 to so it's cut out each time. I have to, I don't know, look at it somehow.
Yes, I have it.
We'll talk to him about it, we'll see what we can do. Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't have to.
How bad to be at all.
So now,
Because we've had, yeah.
yeah, I know. Well, I'm sure, you know, in Washington in particular.
In time.
You realize?
Not you.
No, I think he's gonna.
No, she wasn't talking about you.
The numbers a little. You can,
What'd you say? Okay.
You're sitting there,
Right.
coming with the gun.
Do you want us,
I mean, whatever you want.
do you want me
guys want to
to,
do it again?
would you want me to see if I could find a sitter for you?
And it's the same one again, and then one other.
I don't know.
Rita's here.
Oh, I knew you were coming out, I stayed home. Oh, stop it. I wouldn't do it without you, come on. I'm not a soloist on.
Oh, I'll tell you, don't think we didn't notice you lasted the longest. Yeah, the fact, yeah. And you lasted the longest.
I'll tell you why, I'm the only one who practices a brass instrument 6 days a week because I play the baritone horn in a band.
I didn't know that.
So,
I used to play baritone.
Oh, do you want to, oh no, you're a doctor, you work.
Yes, I did.
We, David
I
and
used to
I
play as a while.
played in, well, you're exactly the kind of person we're looking for. Enthusiastic, but of moderate skill. David and I played in a play, I still play.
I was glad the boys were working on it.
And this Senior Citizens Band, and it's part of a national organization called New Horizons Band. And it's,
You guys.
oh, that was, you know, yesterday, I left my seat.
Yes,
Okay. Yes, my candidate's here. I'll need to all that in. So this is, actually, I went to band camp. It was a total hoot. I went to Senior Citizens Band Camp. But that's the reason I can do it, because I do play it every single day.
That's yeah, you're right. That would make all the difference. I used to do, they switched between trombone, baritone, to, those are the three big,
You know, wait till you retire. Wait till you retire. I have such plans for you.
Well, whatever, certainly shared it with Maxine, that's just what
Oh, Maxine has already found the most valuable thing to do in Essex by talking to the ambulance service. And I know all about that because we use them so much for data.
Yeah, I'm working on my online course, because they can fast track MDs,
Oh,
but I still have to take the national exam.
It's so important.
That's a lot. And that seems to be like a lot of work. Would you put yourself
They're
on?
really nice people.
Well, so they have full-time people, paid people during the day, Monday through Friday, so the volunteers only have to do the nights and weekends.
Even Dollar has been a volunteer.
And you only have to do 2 shifts a month to stay.
So you're going
Well, he's in the fire
Fire
department,
department, but
but
they
he's
show
in
up.
the evening course.
They show up to it's so valuable in Essex where everybody is. Oh, you sit there.
So, she started to these cycles where every second is
I relate.
So, right, I mean,
No, I just don't want to be there's something about it, but I unfortunately I have to go to work after this, which I really wish I could. I do this every year, so okay, I'll just, you're getting it. It's hard to do 2 days in a row off. I'll just do it in the afternoon, and what's the big deal with afternoon? The day comes.
If they really want me, they'll call me back. I really miss the days. If you weren't home, didn't get the phone call, they just call back.
No, he Stanford. Yeah, no, that's a whole. But anyway, so she started.
Well, Henry's not officially a company. He's not a guy.
No, I understand. I know him. I know him many years.
Yeah. Well, so he missed this before with her. So I said, David, well, what are they going to do? I said, well, they're going to class.
No, okay.
And put her
No,
on
sir, just let this be on the record, because I don't know him.
Great job.
I don't know how well I'll do today. Spencer's issues. He's a preschooler. That's
I saw you when you were there. I know you, but you don't know me.
well, she's me, so I knew
so well.
No,
He's not feeling because he's feeling.
right. So
That's Spencer. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I didn't get a chance to
More detailed case, we can angry all over it.
closer to the chauffeur.
Great job.
I'm wearing the high coat and next year, because I have done this.
I owe an apology for Teddy's behavior. They did fine, they kissed, they did you on the knee first. He's putting things on his way. Which will come.
No, it's really interesting because he only does it. And Phil has said that Teddy, for one of his,
Because we're working.
and there was a big standard on your right.
You know, whatever, you know, I mean, obviously, if you
I had to leave.
That's how, yeah.
I don't have any information.
you maybe talk to, I mean, Dawson's maybe Dawson, if I should ask you, there's one person that I think can help you figure it out.
Better behave yourself. With the guardrails.
Now,
Rolled up right in the floor, right by.
I always forget exactly what he does. Anyway, he's done, Dawson's done a lot of work, you know, he's done a lot of work
I sounded every hour left. Josh actually bowed out.
I don't know, obviously.
Raise yourself out.
She told me about that, and I just didn't
You're probably right.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
you can tell, yeah.
Unless you open up my 18
Till the summer.
Well, no, that's what
Then you get the kids driving directly to the wrong way on the one-way streets.
Shana, friends, come find your seats. Who knew there was gonna be this many seats? That's all right. It's not like shofar. No, that's, you're safe by then. So good Yantif, good morning, Shana Tova, L'Shana Tova. Thanks for being here today. Tika Tevu. Yeah, we're going to sing that. That was just a preview. You've all heard my airline announcement, so I'll just remind you, and especially with the rain, to please not prop open any doors. Leave them closed. We want to have people come in the front. And just enjoy being here and creating this wonderful sense of spirituality. Second day of Rosh Hashanah here is always a very special experience. It's a whole different feeling. It's a different feeling of mishpacha. There's the awe still of the High Holy Days, but with a different sense of intimacy and community. So I'm glad you chose to be here with us and to spend it with us. And I think probably just about everybody here has an honor. If you don't already, we'll find something for you to do in the service. It's probably more of a warning than anything else. So let's turn together to page 110. In every action, we must regard our own body as the holy of holies, a part of the supreme power on earth, that is, as a manifestation of the divine. Whenever we lift our hands to do a deed, let us consider them to be God's instruments. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehor. Starting on page 124, of course, we have our Nisim B'Kol Yom, our miracles that we pray we will have the privilege of experiencing every single day. Let's read these all together in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sefri bina, lehavli ben yom u'ben layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokeach ivrim. Baruch atah haolam, zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokach haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani kol tzarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaber. Baruch atah Adonai Holy One, infinite your power, radiant your glory, unbounded your might, awe-inspiring your works.
Hageres hayoshem al kisedam benisa shochenan harom vekadosh shemo vechatuv lanu tzadikim b'Adonai vayishadikim navat
We read together on the top of 139. Beloved friend who calls us to conscience, reminds us of our own strength, invites us to grow, empowers us to act. Cosmic mysteries are yours, but the earth is ours, to tend and heal as best we can. Beloved partner in creation, we join our strength with yours to make you real and true. And now on page 141, we join together in the Chatzi Kaddish, and if you are able, you are invited to please rise. We join together in the Hebrew here in the middle of the page, followed by the English. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol, or olam be'otzer chayim, orot me'ofel amar vayehi. Source of blessings, our eternal God, your power fills the cosmos, shaping light, creating darkness, making peace and fashioning all things. Infinite light is preserved in life's treasure house. Lights from the darkness, and said God, it was so. And we continue on the next page. In love, you bring light to the earth and its creatures. Your goodness renews the creation each day. Infinite, varied, and rich are your works, divine artist. All of them wrought with wisdom. The whole earth is teeming with life. awestruck by the universe, work of your hands. Let all life bless you, praise you, and celebrate the beauty of your lights. May you shine a new light on Zion, and may we soon be privileged to share in that light. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot. Our praise to you, Adonai, creator of the cosmic lights. Page 165. They went forth from Egypt on a single night, but next time the miracle will be different. Once, two sages were walking very early in the valley, and they saw the light of the morning star. Said one to the other, "This is how the redemption will be. The dawn breaks with a single ray of light, and bit by bit the sky is illumined until morning comes and the darkness is gone. So the redemption will occur, little by little, growing steadily and gradually until the world is full of light. Do not wait for a miracle or the sudden transformation of the world. Bring the day closer. step by step, with every act of courage, of kindness, of healing and repair. Do not be discouraged by the darkness. Lift up every spark you can and watch the horizon for the coming of dawn. Look closely. It has already begun.
Mi kamocha Elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nor tehilot osei pelet. Shira chadasha, shifru geulim v'shimcha sabat hayam, yachad kulam, hodu v'himchu v'yamru, Adonai Eloh le'olam va'ed. Tzor Yisrael, U'mavi Ezra Yisrael, U'v'dei Pirmecha, Yehuda be'Yisrael, Go Aleinu, Adonai Tzivaot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
Make every effort to pray from the heart. Even if you do not succeed, the effort is precious in the eyes of the Eternal One. The tefillah begins on page 166. Please rise.
Adonai, Adonai, Sefatai Tita, Ufi Yadi, Tehilatecha, Adonai. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומזהיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשמי עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות ונידון אליו. מלך ממיתון מחיה ומצליח ישועה, מי כמוך, מי כמוך אל הרחמים. זוכר יצורה לחיים ורחמים, ונצחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני לחיי הכל.
Please be seated. Page 175. Unitane Toketh. Let us embrace the day and its holiness, for this day is a throne of goodness and power together. When the people of Israel do God's will, they strengthen God's power on high. But when the people of Israel fail to do God's will, they weaken, if one might say it, God's great power on high. So let this day recall your power and ours. Let it remind us of your promises kept and broken, as we remind you of ours, of yours. Let this day be a throne of forgiveness. For today we are the accountants of our souls, the navigators of our hearts, seeking wholeness and new direction. And we seek you through signs of your presence in the arc of sacred history. I make this covenant not with you alone, but with those who are standing here with us this day, and with those who are not. God of ages past and future, God of this day, as you are with our mothers and fathers, be with us as well. Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love, your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. together in English on 176. And so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even though they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments. Rosh HaShanah, On Rosh HaShanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. You are everything that we praise you for, slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. We who are mortal, our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread, like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. But for you, ever-living sovereign, time has no limits. Your presence, unbounded by days and years, is everywhere. A glorious mystery none can decipher. And your name is worthy of you, and you are worthy of your name. And our name you have linked with yours. Please rise.
Nikadesh Shimcha Ha'olam Kishem Shemakdishim Oto B'Shnei Mahalom Kakatuv Adon V'Milecha V'Kara Zel Zel V'Yamar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzevaot, Melech Haaretz Kivodo. Adir Adirenu, Adonai Adonai Adonenu, Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol ha'aretz. Baruch Kivod Adonai Milehomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Oshienu, ve'hu yashmienu, v'rachamav le'enei kochai, ani Adonai Eloheihem. Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Zion, L'dor Hador, Hallelujah.
Please be seated.
So yesterday I gave a whole spiel, which I don't want to do today. I'm only going to briefly say that the melody that we brought back for this whole HaShanah cycle, from door by door, is a melody that I shared as a duet with a friend and colleague who is dearly missed, John Dylan Cole. The door, the door, the door, the door, the door.
After so many years of hearing about that piece of music and the mythic status it had taken on, it's nice to hear it. It's so beautiful, and to keep John in our thoughts. Maybe he's tuned in today and is watching, and so we continue to send him our love and our prayers for his comfort and his peacefulness. Let's turn together to page 195. The reading towards the bottom of the page is beautiful, but I think the context makes it even more so. If you take a look at the footnote first, where it says this people's true story, it's written by Rabbi Leo Beck, whose name may be familiar to you. And it says, while imprisoned in Theresienstadt, in the concentration camp there, Rabbi Beck continued to teach and offer spiritual support. He also began a book titled, This People Israel, The Meaning of Jewish Existence, where these words appear. So let's read these words together. This people's true history is a history of encounters with God. It has this history for its own sake and for the sake of humanity. It bears it and is borne by it. Every people is a question which God addresses to humanity, and every people from its own place, with its special talents and possibilities, must answer for its own sake and for the sake of humanity. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness. Together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of remembrance. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova. Amen. Ufokteinu bo livracha. Amen. V'hoshienu bo l'chaim. Amen. Eternal our God, remember us. Amen. Be mindful of us. Amen. And redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing. Amen. We're now going to continue silently from pages 208 through 220. You're skipping over the first part of the shofar service, which we will be coming back to a little bit later. So again, silent prayer from page 208 to 220. We will now be turning to Avinu Malkeinu on page 222. And having already ascended the Bima are Phil and Cindy Rishal, who will be reading for us as well as opening the Ark for us. And then following our Hakathah, which will be our Gabbis, our wonderful Laura and Kevin, carrying the Torahs around for us to greet this Rosh Hashanah morning. Gail Feld will be invited up to help us to undress the Torah. Again, we're on page 222. Please rise.
Loving Father, infinite power, gentle, forgiving, lofty, inscrutable, Avinu Malkeinu.
Lord, confronting presence, endless mystery.
Avinu Malkeinu, our rock and redeemer, life of the universe, close to us at always, impossibly far, Avinu Malkeinu.
Embracing, confounding, accepting our frailty, decreeing our end.
Malkeinu. None of these are true, none of them are you, yet we stand as those before us have stood, summoned to judgment, longing for love. Avinu Malkeinu.
May these words be a bridge. They come from our hearts. May they lead us to you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Vaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Ve'hoshienu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Vaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu ma'asim.
And now we turn to page 226 for Kriyat Torah, and it is a pleasure to have Henry Reznikov up here on the Bima with us as well to help facilitate this part of our service as our Gabbai. When first we appeared on the stage of world history, a book was in our hands. This book, this sacred scroll. And we were told, this is very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart. And we were told, you can surely do it. And then we learned, this is where heaven and earth touch.
Hey, katocha ba'elokim Adonai, v'yein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor, Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch li'olam v'amen, Adonai oz li'olam Adonai yivavech נושא עוון ופשע וחטאה ונקה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו,
So this Rosh Hashanah morning's Torah portion is the chapter right before yesterday's. So yesterday we heard from the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, and that was Genesis chapter 22. This morning we're going to hear from Genesis chapter 21, and after we hear from the text itself, we have the true privilege a little bit later on of hearing our own Izzy Greenberg's wonderful Devar Torah and interpretation of this interesting and also troubling text, but differently troubling than yesterday's. We will have the joy of hearing Cantor Belinda chant from the Torah for chapter 21, and you can follow along in your Machzorim. And we have 6 aliyot, and for our first aliyah this Rosh Hashanah morning, it is a privilege to invite up Rabbi David Teva to bless the Torah. Ya'amod הרב דוד בן הרב מיכאל ואביטל עלייה לתורה.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו עם כל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. באדוני הארץ אשר עלי ויעש אדוני לשרת אשר דיבר ותרץ עליו לאברהם ונזכונה למועד אשר דיבר אותו אלוהים ויקרא אברהם את שם בנו הנולד לו אשר ילדה לו שרה יצחק ויעמוד אברהם את יצחק בנו בן 8 ימים כאשר ציווה אותו
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נתן בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Can I point out something neat that Rabbi Tevra does when he says the blessing? And your family does this, and it's a really beautiful, is it a Reconstructionist change to the language? I don't know if anyone picked up on it, but in the Aliyah blessing, it says, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. You chose us from all the nations, right? You gave us Torah, and your change was?
2 little letters. I went from a mem to an ayin, to an im, all of us.
Yeah, not just from all the people, but with all the people. So it's inclusive, and so it's a...
I think the challenge is if we start saying that we're chosen, that would somehow imply a hierarchy between some of us and others. And I think in our community, I think that we should say what we mean, and we should do what we say. So it's subtle, just one
little
letters
circle.
there. Thank you.
So thank you so much. So for our second aliyah, our second blessing this morning, but no pressure to change any of the letters, don't worry. It is an honor to invite us. Rick Porter, Ya'amor, Baal ben Baruch, Barut, Aliyah la Torah.
I was going to make a joke about Ashkenazi, but anyway. Baruch Adonai HaMorah.
Baruch Adonai HaMorah Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMorah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Did I mention, by the way, page 238? Had I not mentioned that? That's all right. Everybody caught on? Okay. All right.
Walk it down.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam atah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And now for our third Aliyah this Rosh Hashanah morning, and is this now your second or your third time doing this with us? Your second. I remember celebrating with you your very first Aliyah then last year. Rochelle Downheimer, Ta'amod Rochelle Bat Davida Vidor Aliyah La Torah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayikach Yad Avraham, vayas Avraham, mishteh gadol, v'yom yigamelech Yitzchak, v'teiles Sarah et benatav hamitzri, asher yalda le'Avraham mitzaveh, v'tomer li'Avraham yaresh amazot v'et benah, ki lo yivash ben ha'amazot im beni Yitzchak.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam atah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And now for our fourth Aliyah this Rosh Hashanah morning, it's a pleasure to invite up Bob Wolf. Ya'amod Shimon ben Hershel Aliyah La Torah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayera Adonai me'od b'nei Avraham ad hodot b'no. Vayomer Elohim el Avraham hayireh b'yanecha al hana'ar v'al amatecha kol asher tomar elecha Sarah shema v'kola ki b'yitzchak yikareh lecha zara וגם את בני העמל בו ישימנו כי זרעך הוא.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu et Torah emet v'chayei olam v'teinu v'esem. Baruch atah Adonai v'teinu.
Amen. And now for our fifth Aliyah this Rosh Hashanah morning, it's a pleasure to invite up Henry Gottlieb. Ya'amod tzvi ben natam Aliyah La Torah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayashteh Avraham ויקפו המים החמה, ותשלך את הילד תחת אחד הסעיפים. ותלך ותשב לה מנגד, הסתיקים תחווה קשת, כי היא אמרה אל אריה בנות הילד, ותשב מנגד, ותישא את קולה,
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורה אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Yashiko.
Yashiko.
Thank you. Two young
I'll
ladies.
take a moment to point out, you've probably noticed that Cantor Belinda is chanting in High Holiday trope, High Holy Day trope, not the standard Torah trope that we hear the whole rest of the year, but High Holy Days, being the special days that they are, have their own trope. And in addition to that, you'll hear every now and then a word that sounds particularly fancy, right? It's held out even longer and the notes are even more ornate. And if you ever, if you're following the Hebrew and can kind of peek over the English and see what's being talked about, you see what the Masoretes, those who attached the different trope marks to the various Hebrew words, it was a form of midrash, it's a form of interpretation. They're saying this word is really important. We want to emphasize it, we want you to linger on it. And you see here, it's Abraham sending out Hagar and Ishmael to the desert, potentially to die. And so to see that those words are given emotional trope is really significant. Yeah, so just need to add to our listening pleasure. And now to our sixth and final aliyah this Rosh Hashanah morning. Last but not least, Michael Pearl, it's an honor to invite you up for the aliyah. Ya'amod Michael ben Chanan la'aliyah l'Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamerah.
Baruch Adonai Hamerah le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamerah le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayishma Elohim et kol hanahar vayikra malach Elohim el hadar min hashamayim vayomer la malach hadar atiri hishama Elohim el kol hanahar v'asher hu sham koni sei et hanahar v'hachaziki et yadeko ki legoy gadol hasimenu vayifkach Elohim et eineha v'teireh b'yamayim v'teireh v'tmaleh et achema mayim v'tashket hanahar v'yehi Elohim et hanahar v'yigal v'yishem b'midbar v'yigro v'kashat v'yishem b'midbar haran v'tigach lo imo asher be'eretz Mitzrayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam notan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And now while the Torah is out in our midst, and we feel that extra bit of connection with God and the divine, We take a moment now to offer our prayers of healing and of wholeness and wellness to members of our family, our community, our friends. And so if there's somebody to whom you are sending healing prayers this morning, I invite you to share their names out loud or think of them in your hearts.
Carl Lofton,
Barbara Baker Finger, Harriet Fellows.
Megan Vita, Melvin Rosenblatt, Sue Crafty, and Arthur and Marcia Myers. Kay Reynolds. Jeff Brewer. Whoops.
Gladys Feigenbaum.
Jake Dillershats.
Mark Goodman. Iris Clark. Andrew Bernard.
Carrie and Burl Bellows. Yishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Imotenu Sarah v'Kal Le'av Rachel v'Yivarech v'Yirakeh et kol ha'cholim ha'erev. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel, bless and heal all who are ill, all who are sick, all who are suffering. We pray, God, that they return to that precious feeling of shleimut, of peacefulness and wholeness, and we pray wellness. Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. We praise you, God, who cares for the sick. And let us say together, Amen. And now, Cantor Belinda chanted so beautifully for us this morning. What a treat. And yet, we all have the responsibility of seeing the text that was chanted out loud so that we get the credit for having read it as well. So we have Hagbaha, the tradition of lifting up the Torah and showing the text to the congregation so that you can see the Hebrew that was just chanted. And that, our Magbiya this morning is Sean Konecki, and then to help us dress the Torah, we have Ronnie Person-Weiner. Everyone, please rise. I'm putting no pressure. Gabi Teva is coming up to chant the Haftarah for us in a very special way. B'vakasha. What? Well, it's special just because you're doing it.
So I just want to point out, I was just looking at page 254, the commentary. And the last line is, Jeremiah's vision of national reconciliation evokes our own hopes for personal and communal healing.
Arzenu, Ushmaru, Kro Edro, Kifada Adonai, Et Yaakov, Ugalo, Miad Chazak Mimenu, Uvau, Perinenu Vinyon Zion, Enaru, El Tuv Adonai, El Altagan, Viati Rosh, Viaitzad, Viabnei Tzipson, Uvakar, Vaita Nafshan, Kegam Raver, Velo Yosifu Ledavar, Az Tismach Betula, B'machol, Uvchura Rimus Kenim, Yachtav, V'hafachti Evlam Nesason, V'nichamtim, V'simachtim, Nikonam. Veriveti Nefesh HaKohanim Deshen Ve'ani Et Tuvi Yispalu Ne'om Adonai. Thus said the Eternal, a voice is heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children, for they are gone. Thus said the Eternal, keep your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for your labor shall have its reward, declares the Eternal. They shall return from the enemy's land, and there is hope for your future, declares the Eternal. Your children shall return to their land. Shama, Shamati, Ephraim mitloded, Yisartani vivaser, Ke'egel lolumat, Hashiveni ve'ashuva, Ki ata Adonai Elohai, Ki acharei shuvi nichamti, Ve'acharei givali, Safakti al yarech, Boshti ve'gam nichlamti, Ki nasati cherpat murai, Avein. Yakili Ephraim, Im Yeled Shashuim, Kimidei Tabribo, Zachor Eskerenu, Od Alkenu, Amunei Aelo, Rachem Arachamenu, Ne'um Adonai.
Asher Kod.
Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzor kol ha'olamim, tzadik b'chol ha'dorot, ha'elam ha'omer Yosef, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shekol dvarav v'mefaseh. Ne'emar, ha'torah, v'yal avodah,
And now for a wonderful Devar Torah about our Torah portion this morning. It's an honor to invite Izzy Greenberg.
This season asks us to take an honest and thorough accounting of our year. As I've been doing that for myself, contemplating my year, I'm also accounting for my place in our tradition and our nation, and I have a lot of questions. We're reading Genesis 21, and it's called, in the Machzor, "Through Isaac your seed shall go forth." And as titles do, it tells you what the authors felt was important about this chapter. But as I read it, I was left both thinking about the moment of the origins of our people, but also the legacy of cruelty that goes with it. That Sarah commanded Abraham to expel Hagar and Ishmael to the desert wilderness because she didn't approve of the child's play. Do I feel pride or shame when I read this story? Is it okay that I feel both at the same time? Hagar was Sarah's servant or slave, and earlier in Genesis, when Sarah couldn't conceive, she gave Hagar to Abraham as a concubine to have children in her stead. Hagar was treated harshly by Sarah, and she did bear a child with Abraham, whom she named Ishmael. In this story, Hagar is powerless and disposable. She was a body to be used, to bear children when Sarah couldn't, and to be cast out when that child wasn't needed anymore. We know these names, Hagar and Ishmael, but in this chapter, we don't know them from Sarah's voice, or God's voice for that matter. In this chapter, she simply calls them this servant woman and her son, distancing herself from her cruelty by declining to call them by their names and acknowledge their humanity. This action made me stop, think, and question, how many times this year did I undermine the humanity of those who serve me? Did I acknowledge the person bagging my groceries, cleaning my hotel room, picking up my garbage, or simply sitting next to me? Later in the story, Abraham is uncomfortable with Sarah's request to cast Hagar out, but at God's assurance, Abraham does it anyway. On the one hand, Abraham's faith in God that the servant woman and her son would be cared for is important, inspiring, and a little confounding. We saw this faith yesterday in the binding of Isaac. That faith is a powerful example we use to maintain our relationship to our tradition. As Rabbi Bellows said yesterday, it also leaves us with questions like, what kind of faith would inspire a man to willingly sacrifice his son or cast him to the desert to die? What role does challenging tradition play in keeping that very same tradition alive? Eventually, God, as promised, made good from Sarah and Abraham's wrong. Ishmael did make a great nation, and that is no doubt the bigger story here. But I don't want to lose the fact that Abraham took a risk. He knew that his son Ishmael could just as easily have died in the desert when he cast him off. It was Abraham's decision to own. Here, too, I see parallels in my own life, ways in which this ancient story leaves me with questions today. How many times this year did I make difficult decisions with the faith that it would work out in the end? How many times did I let a bad deed happen in my name without saying something, doing something? How do I learn to follow my heart and do right when it is difficult? And back to Rabbi Bella's point from yesterday, when, like Abraham, did I play chicken with God? The story also teaches us wonderful things. You can do the unexpected, do something no one thought you were capable of. In this case, conceiving a child at an unusually old age, as Sarah did, or putting your needs second to the cause of a greater good, as Abraham surely believed he was doing. My question then to myself, what did I accomplish this year that I never knew I was capable of? Did I sacrifice enough for the greater good? But the story also shows that we are human, that yes, we are capable of the amazing, but in that same moment, we are capable of unimaginable cruelty, relegating a mother and child to die in the desert. In what ways have I been responsible for someone else's suffering? In what ways have I turned my back on my nuclear family or my human family? Abraham believed God's words that everything would be all right in the end. But what if that faith had led him to a different choice? What if he played yet another game of chicken with God and with Sarah? What if that faith led him to believe that Sarah would forgive him if he chose to care for Hagar and Ishmael instead? What if 2 nations were formed as God promised, but with the bonds of brotherly love intact? How would that have shaped our world? Looking forward, I ask myself, what is the lasting legacy of the moment when Abraham and Sarah expelled Hagar and Ishmael? What is the legacy it leaves me with? How do I repair the cruelties of my ancestors and our shared histories? There are mothers and sons dying in the desert now, all over the world, because they are refugees, because their crops have failed, because their rulers have turned their backs on them. Are my actions assisting in their healing and health, or in their demise? And most importantly, how will I commit acts of repair this year? What power do I have? As I enter the new year, I know I'll look for moments in every day to see people in their full humanity. That might mean using someone's name because it brings them dignity. It might mean allowing children greater latitude when they behave in unacceptable ways, as Sarah couldn't with Ishmael. It might mean bringing nations together, eating a meal with my Muslim brothers and sisters, or with Jewish brothers and sisters who lead different spiritual lives than I do, finding common ground and recreating family. In these small acts, I will try not to miss any chances this year to use my full power to repair the world from the cruelties committed in this story and any other acts that have been committed in my name. We are reflecting and looking forward to the new year. We can't afford to be overwhelmed by the fissures of the world, the brokenness of the past. It's time to recognize and claim your power and recommit to the world. I'm left with the biggest question. What power do I have, and how will I use it?
Amen. Rasha Koa. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you for wrestling with the difficult text so beautifully for us all this morning. We now turn to our shofar service on page 200. The shofar service, of course, is in 3 sections, and I'll remind you that this machzor, in its formatting and editing, decided to split up the 3 sections. We made the editorial decision to put them all back together. So we'll be flipping around the book a little bit for these 3 sections. So the first section begins on page 200, and it is an honor to invite up our Ba'alei Tekiah, Rita Christopher, who will be in the back, and my husband Seth, who is somewhere. Seth! Our other Baal Tekiah, probably with Spencer right now in the playroom.
I'll go look.
Maybe Rita should be in front. Oh, okay, wait, Bobby's going to go check. Here they come.
Yeah.
Oh, hooray! Spencer, are you going to blow the shofar?
No.
No, you're And to open the ark for us for the Great Aleinu, which, by the way, a little bit of Jewish trivia, it was traditional to go fully prostrate. And you may have experienced some clergy in your life going all the way down on the ground. And as we think about the connections between us and our Muslim brothers and sisters, it's one of the times when we traditionally go all the way down on the ground in humility. So to open the ark for us, it's an honor to invite up Josh Smith and Jody Winch. Everyone, please rise. We are stiff-necked and stubborn. Teach us to bend before you. Convinced we're right, entrenched in our own perspective, we resist your call to repent. Convinced we're self-sufficient, entrenched in the illusion of control, we resist your call to humility. Convinced we can have it all, entrenched in the dream of mastering the world, we resist your call to wake up. Today you summon us out of our arrogance, out of rigidity, fantasy, shallowness, self-deception. Teach us to bend our knees, to bow our heads before the mystery, to realize our frailty and our finitude. Teach us to make you Melech, sovereign in our life, to align ourselves with your goodness and truth. We would not bow before Pharaoh, we would not bow before the Persian lord, we would not submit to any power on earth or give ourselves to any material thing, but we, the Jewish people, stiff-necked and stubborn to the end, today we bow before you. Page 202. Please be seated. Page 205. Ribbon Shalom, power of all, have compassion on the souls of Israel. Open their hearts to do teshuvah before you. Open their souls for the sake of returning to you. And now, I'm going to get you up again in just a second to help us open the ark. It is an honor to invite up Gail and Abe Bombs, and we are on page 206. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'echianu, v'kiyamanu, v'nigiyanu, la'azman hazeh. Tekiyah, Shvarim Truah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah,
Page 263, our second part of the shofar service, Zichronot. A messenger from another time, a stranger here in our midst, the shofar sounds remembrance. Remember, wherever you go, I am with you. After the flood, in the wake of destruction, Noah discovered the rainbow. Alone on a mountain, knife in his hand, Abraham heard the voice of compassion. At the end of her strength, afraid for her child, Hagar found a well in the wilderness. Remember, wherever you go, I am with you. In sounding the horn, we summon them back. Zichronot, memories of those who saw signs of your presence. A rock gives forth water, hope can blossom in the desert. And when loving hands lighten our darkness, you are there. When we are caught in the thicket, feel alone or forgotten, the shofar sounds remembrance. From the deep well of the past, in the depths of our own despair, the shofar sounds remembrance. Remember, my presence goes with you and will lighten your burden. Page 267. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember, we are a people of noble ideals. Help us attain them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace. Bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah, Abraham's words, here I am. Our memory fades, but you remember all that we have forgotten. Your presence is a throne where all things matter and nothing is lost. Baruch atah Adonai zocher habrit. Blessed are you, Adonai. You remember the covenant. You remember us. And now it's a pleasure to invite up our next ARC openers, Evelyn Foster and Robin Diller. Everyone, please rise.
Shemaim Teruah.
Hard to have mommy away so much during these days. Thank you all for being such mentions. So page 282 for the third section, Shofarot. Okay, I'm ready for you. Okay, here we go. Okay. You revealed your glory, a presence in a cloud, and a people became holy when you spoke with them. Amid thunder and lightning, you made yourself known. With blasting shofar, you appeared. God, revealed to us and to our fathers and mothers before us, God of revelation, play the song of our freedom on the great shofar. Let your banner fly over the gathering of our exiles. Bring back the dispersed. Let those who are scattered find their way home. Let joyful songs of Zion greet us in Jerusalem, your holy city, the place of our people's eternal happiness. Page 284, and it's a pleasure to invite up our ARC openers, Barbara and Arnie Davis.
And if you'd all like to join Cantor Belinda in this round of calls, it would be wonderful to have you call as well. Baruch atah Adonai shomeo kol teruata mo Yisrael barachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people, Israel.
Page 291. יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות אלה המבהיקים בחשכת הליל הם שמראים לאדם את הדרך. There are stars up above so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. So it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Page 292. If you are observing a Shiva, Shloshim, or Yortzeit for a family member or friend and would like to share a name out loud or think of them in your hearts, you are invited to do so now.
David's one. David Brown.
Bob Cohn, Stephen Swell.
Zichronam Livracha, may all of their memories always be for a blessing. Together now we all rise and join in the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash Shebei Rabbah, Ve'alma Divrach Yurteh, Ve'amlich Malchuteh, V'chayechon V'yomechon, V'chayei Kol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala V'bizman Kariv Imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah V'varach Le'olam Lamei Almaya. Yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei v'kudisha b'richlu le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiram v'yalma v'yimru amen Yehei shlama rabba yishemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al Yisrael v'yimru amen Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen.
Yizgadal, ve'yizgadal, Shem Mizravan, Yehei Rabban Devorah, Ve'olam
Please be seated. And now with a few quick announcements before our closing song, it's an honor to invite Brad Jubileer, our congregation's president.
Once again, I just want to wish all of you that 5780 brings you goodness, good health, happiness, and shalom. We have, before you leave, if you haven't brought 4 things home with you, I do remind you, we have these two brochures. They have all the dates of all our services for high holidays as well as our thank yous. And there's a lot of thank yous. Please read it and recognize all who've given so much during high holidays. And then please make sure you pick up this and maybe put it in your cell phone calendar, on your regular calendar. 5780, plan your year with CBSRZ. It lists all our special events, our special services and programs for the entire year. We promised to have a wonderful year here, and we hope to see you all participating. And then lastly, if you don't have yet, or you need the ArcSight candle for Running Memorial on Area Number 4, we have those available too. Basically, Sunday on October 6th, we have our 2 cemetery services. The Fountain Hill Cemetery service will take place at 1 p.m., followed by the Rosetta Cemetery service at 2:30 p.m. Yom Kippur Nidre service will begin promptly at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday evening. Please try to arrive a little early, give yourself time to park, have your tickets checked, and so our Gabai's leadership can greet you with a matzor and certainly wish you a good Yontif. And again, please remember your tickets. I think I don't have to say that anymore. Once again, I just wish you all a good, healthy year, and look forward to seeing our wonderful services, our special events, and programs for this upcoming year. Thank you.
Our final song is HaShanah Tova Tikatevu. Page 301.
HaShanah Tova Tikatevu. HaShanah Tova Tikatevu. A good year, a year of peace, we wish to you.
HaShanah